What's up, guys? Welcome back to our second episode of our top-down Miami tutorial. So we already have our movements for W, S, A, and D, and now we're going to learn something called vector to angle, which is going to help us point our character towards our mouse. So let's see what that looks like. That's our first little bit of code or functions that we're going to use in our game. And we're not going to make a rule, but we are going to drag in a rotate behavior. Here it is, rotate, into our player. We're not going to drag a rotate behavior, my mistake. We're going to drag a change attribute. We can actually constrain attribute too. Let's drag a constrain attribute into our player. Excuse the confusion. And we're going to constrain our player's rotation. And so we'll choose constrain attribute. We'll click on the A for the attribute browser. We'll click on attributes and choose player rotation. Double click on that and you'll see self.rotation come up here. Now we want to set this to something. So what we want to set this to is, if we click this E down here, this is going to be a little bit tricky. We're going to go to functions, and we're going to go all the way down to this function called vector to angle. Vector to angle is a really cool script. However, it does show you kind of a weird x comma y here, which isn't actually how vector to angle works, or how I use it. Maybe it does work that way, I don't know. But how we're going to use it, we don't really, we actually need two x's and two y's, and I'll explain that shortly. So for the first x, we're going to delete that, and then we'll go to our attributes, and we're going to choose our player's position x, because that's where we're starting at the x coordinate, and we're going to type in minus, and we're going to go to our devices mouse position x. So for that x item, we have self position x minus game mouse position x. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing for y. We're going to choose self position y and game mouse position y. So let's do that now. We'll go all the way back to player position y, and we just deleted the original y that was there and replaced it. And we're typing minus, and we go to devices mouse position y, and we'll hit check. Now there's one more part to this to get the rotation right, and it has to do with what direction our sprite is facing initially, but I'll show you that right now. So if we hit play, our character is now turning, but his back is always facing the mouse. We want his gun to be facing the mouse, right? So if it's directly the opposite direction, it's 180 degrees. So if we click on this E down here and go all the way to the end, after the parentheses, we can just subtract 180 degrees from whatever this is. So hit check and press play. Let me refresh this. Let's see, something got a little funky here. There it is. So now you do have to make sure that your mouse is on the screen, or else it won't know what coordinates to point to. But now our player is always facing our mouse. Right, so that wasn't too bad. So vector to angle is a really great function. It seems more complicated than it is, but basically it's you're choosing how to get to an object. So from one object, you're going up the x coordinate to the other object's x coordinate, and then the y coordinate, and then you're moving across the x coordinate. And by finding both of those, you can figure out the angle between them and really point towards the object that you're going for. So it's a really complicated math function that's simplified using this function right here. And we'll call this point to mouse. Perfect. Now we want to add a little something else to this. We want to add, let's add a bullet, because we want to be able to shoot, right? So let's create a new actor, and we'll call this Projectile. And we will make that projectile yellow. Cool. And for size, let's make it 10 wide and 5 high. All right. Good. So let's delete that. And in our projectile, we're going to use a move behavior, and we'll just leave this as is, but we're going to change the speed to 800. All right. Now, if we hit play, nothing's going to happen because we haven't actually placed our bullet in the scene in any way. So we need to spawn that bullet in. So what we're going to do is, if we go back to our player and create a new role, this time looking for a mouse button, and for the do section we can do spawn actor, and you're going to spawn our projectile in back of actor. And the important part is already set for us by default. It says in the direction relative to actor. So if you rotate your actor, which it's doing all the time as it's facing your mouse, it'll still come out the right way. So if we hit play, and remember we have to kind of move our mouse fast to make sure it's in the middle of the screen. We'll add a fix to that later. And then if we click, we can see that we're now shooting projectiles, which is really cool. And if we move around, we can kind of strafe around or strafe around an object and keep on accurately shooting at it. We don't want to accurately shoot all the time, so we are going to add some randomization to this so it's not always a direct hit. And actually, let's do that now. So let's add some Fortnite aspects to this and randomize the direction your projectiles go. That way it's not exactly perfect. So we're going to go to functions and choose random. Double click on that and you'll see a min and a max attribute here. So you can set the min to -3 and the max to +3. You don't need to add the plus sign, you just add 3. So then you hit the checkbox, and what this is going to do is it is going to point towards your mouse, but then it's going to add between -3 and +3 to it. So to visualize that, if we shoot, we'll notice that not all the bullets are hitting our mouse. They're kind of going around it in some areas because the shot's not perfect. We also want to kind of center or fix the location that the bullet's spawning, because it's kind of coming out of the middle of our body instead of out of our gun. So we'll go back to the editor and we can just adjust the spawn position here. So we can say, let's subtract 10 here and see what happens. That's exactly the same. So we'll subtract 10 from this one and see what happens. And that's actually almost perfect, so it's coming out of the gun. So that looks pretty good. There's some randomization in the bullets, and the bullets look like they're coming out of the gun. We'll add some walls and other enemies and things like that in future videos. Alright, so thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Peace. Hey, thanks for watching this tutorial. Be sure to support me on Patreon and you'll get your name in every video produced while you're a supporter. And you'll also get access to project files for all of our game projects, including GameSalad, GameMaker Studio 2, Unity, and Unreal Engine. They're not quite all up there yet, but I am uploading them and I am organizing all that now for you. So be sure to jump over to Patreon and support me. And thanks again for watching. Enjoy the rest of the series. Peace.